usually refer to the age group of 16 to 18, but I did read that it can also start even younger nowadays, so approximately around 13 years of age up until 18 years of age. That's what the age group can consist of. There are a lot of, I guess, issues with juvenile delinquency specifically, because most of juvenile delinquency begins in areas that are considered low income. There's no really any means of resources or much more attention, I guess you can say, within those neighborhoods or communities to really help the youth excel in their own capabilities. So some of the problems that or crimes that many juveniles can get into and are considered juvenile delinquents are if they commit crimes such as vandalism, shoplifting, or any other petty thefts, simple assaults, which can be like fighting in school, truancy, which means missing a lot of school, any kind of possession of drugs. Usually I've seen that these possession of drugs usually amount to like marijuana, because a lot of the time during this age group, a lot of them are experimenting, and it's usually with marijuana. Some of the theories that I found that connected with why juvenile delinquency can occur was social disorganization theory, as well as social learning theory and some subculture theory. I did see that social disorganization and subculture theory kind of work hand in hand with each other. It basically just talked about how the importance of community structure and how community structure can influence a juvenile, or not just a juvenile, but anybody within that community. They can influence them greatly. Some of the characteristics that these theories did pinpoint are obviously community, economic background, their environment. For community, it's very important because like this theory, subculture theory and social disorganization theory, talk about how community is where these juveniles grow up. They experience a lot of things within their community. It's their base of or foundation of what they live off on. Social disorganization theory helps to identify relationships between familial social characteristics such as economic status and parental composition. Like I mentioned before, economic background also can consist of one's family, which is very important because a lot of them, like I mentioned before, come from single parent households. So a lot of the times maybe their father isn't around to help, guide many into what is supposed to be ideally the correct path. Their parents are not often around, so it lacks a lot of supervision. So a lot of the juveniles tend to run the streets and obviously tend to find other means of their attention, such as joining gangs. Maybe their household situation isn't the greatest, and they seek a family-oriented group, and most of the time it leads them to gangs because gangs kind of glamorize that sense of family and that they're there for them and are able to help them out in whatever situation that they may have. The environment can also consist of their friends who have common goals with them, like if many are trying to find a job and because they're so young they can't find one, they influence each other and finding a way, and usually it leads to selling a little bit of weed, and then it ends up leading up to bigger drugs. Social learning theory consists of juveniles learning how to engage into crime, or learning a certain type of behavior, which was often seen and also mentioned within some of the interviews that we used in the method. My methods consisted of interviews with someone who is a part of the Soledad Enrichment Program, which is an outreach program for juveniles. I spoke to an LAPD officer as well as a youth pastor